Hi, my name is Luke Marushka, and I'm a sophomore at Benedict Academy. I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to do this interview. Would you please provide your name and some of your background information about your education and career?
Oh, yes. So I'm Santiago Schnell. I'm the Dean of the College of Science at the University of Notre Dame. I originally trained as a biologist, and then I pursue a PhD in mathematics. I work on an area of research that is called mathematical biology. And as a result of that, I hold appointments in the University of Notre Dame as faculty in the Department of Biological Sciences, and then on the Department of Applied Mathematics that is called Applied and Computational Mathematics and Statistics.
Now, I was wondering if I could ask you some questions about business ethics and how ethics have helped you answer questions or make decisions as a business leader.
Oh, yes.
Do you have a set of ethical principles that you use when faced with difficult questions or situations in your career?
Well, it's difficult to know, about ethical principles overall. So, as a devout Catholic, of course, I have the principles that the Catholic Church and the Christian religion provides as a guidance for life. And then when it comes into the academic leadership, of course, there are principles that I consider that they're important. Some of them might be more virtuous, others are just characteristics that I would like to use as a way to communicate effectively with people and as well to take decisions. One of them is that, I think transparency is very critical, both for how you take decisions, but at the same time, no, it's not only how you take decisions, but on how you operate as an individual. And I think it helps because some people might be disappointed with the decisions you might take, or they might be disappointed even with the opinions you have. But if you're not completely open on how you articulate those principles, then it's very difficult to know where you stand, both morally and then professionally. And it's very important. So, and the other thing is, sometimes it's important to have tolerance for different opinions and as well different behaviors. We live in a society that is multicultural and very diverse. And even though we can have personal beliefs that might be in contradiction with beliefs of other individuals, the critical thing is that you need to become sufficiently open-minded to accept within the bounds of your own moral background, other people's opinions and beliefs, as long as they don't interfere or they are contradictory to yours. And by having that respect, you can engage more effectively in society and make a bigger impact. Many people nowadays in our society, particularly in the United States, they tend to be hugely divided between groups, and there is little tolerance for understanding what the other side they believe or they think. And even though we might be morally opposed to the other perspective, either for religious reasons or for our own moral points of view, there are members of our society and we need them in different ways. And we just need to be civil and tolerant and work with them. So I have this general principle of tolerance that is important.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, would you be able to provide an example of a situation in your business career that you faced in which you applied these principles?
Well, for example, there are principles where you need to take very difficult financial decisions on behalf of a research project or an institution. And the financial decision might be hurting some of the individuals or might be hurting some of the goals of what might have in the long term. And one thing that needs to be done is that everyone who is going to be affected by the decision, they need to understand that first it's coming. Secondly, that it hasn't been easy to take the decision, and then you need to articulate a rationale of why you're deciding to do that. So I think that's a very important matter. I find it tremendously multiple times. And at the same time, you can find individuals who have being involved on what you consider from the business ethics of the institution you're handling, doing morally reprehensible actions that could be mistreatment of colleagues or mistreatment of of staff members. And then what you need to do is talk to those individuals and understand why this behavior happened. And if there isn't a good rationale of why it happened, sometimes, people are very human and they can blow off. And if that was a situation, of course, you need to comprehend that happened. But if it's something that it wasn't blow off, but it's part of the normal behavior that the individual is going to have, then you need to draw a line and have an environment where you respect everyone in the as colleagues, and you love them as well as colleagues, because the way that institutions, they flourish is by having a family-like environment. And even though it's not the same way that you will have your personal family, but having individuals who actually believe on the mission of the institution or the organization you're working on, and everyone defends and everyone is respectful in the same way that you're respectful within a family, is critical. So, and generally when you deal with humans, so all of us, we tend to, sometimes misbehave once in a while. And if you don't have somebody who comes and gives you corrections, things can go downhill very quickly.
Okay. Now, do you think that any particular business question, decision, or situation represents a difficult ethical issue?
Well, there are sometimes, and this happens, I think, across all disciplines. Sometimes you have a morally difficult question, right, that the action is immoral, but it doesn't make it illegal. And there are individuals who actually find out that when you have an action that is legal, regardless of whether it's moral or no, they would like to pursue it. And in life, we are going to find ourselves with many, many situations where sometimes an action is immoral from your religion point of view, your ethics, but it could be still legal. And the individuals are going to pursue it anyway because they don't have the same beliefs that you have. But if it's part of the organization, and the organization has a motto, you need to make sure that you create bylaws and you create regulations with the institution where actions that they are immoral for the motto and the behavior of the institution, they need to be remain as well illegal within the institution, within the frameworks of the institution. And the fact that the institution might not be acceptable from the bylaws or the legal standards of the institution, it still doesn't make them illegal outside of the institution. And you have to be dealing with those frameworks all the time. And having individuals that they can have two behaviors, one outside the institution and the other one due to the morality and the legality contradictions, is always a challenge.
And thank you for that. And now, do you have any advice you could provide for me as I think about ethical issues that I may face one day in my career?
Well, it depends on my case. So, for example, you're still young and you're going to be pursuing an academic career, like going to finishing high school, then going to university. If you decide to go an MBA or do law school, you're going to have academically, some moral values that you need to be hold of. In academia, so like all academic institutions, so you need to hold moral standards for the students and as well for the professionals who work in the universities. So as you move along in institutions, you make sure that these honor codes that generally tend to be morally reprehensible behaviors that you need to keep in track, you make sure that you know what they are and what they should be doing. In academia, for example, we always want to promote freedom of expression. We can have fundamental disagreements, but we let everyone to express their point of view because for us, it's very important to find the truth. So we are more in favor of knowing what is real and what is true than actually stopping dissenting opinions, even if we disagree sometimes with those opinions. And I think that's a very important character to have on behaving ethically through life, because you never know when you're going to be right. But if you listen all the perspectives and you can take and there's an open dialogue, you can reach the right conclusions in the long term. And nowadays in many schools and universities and even in our own society, we're not letting people to present their points of view. For anyone who wants to study and wants to learn in life, the only way that you can learn is by listening things that you don't know about, and even things that you disagree, to come with the truth. I think that's a very important value. The other thing is, you need to always acknowledge ideas that they're not your own, but they came from other people. And you do this in academia by not copying and pasting text that you find from textbooks and documents that you read. And if you do copying and testing, then you need to say where they're coming from. But if you're going to reform the ideas and even rewrite them with different words, it's always important to acknowledge where they came from. Because they set them into the context and those individuals, they work very hard on them. And then, well, if you are as well studying, so not cheating and making sure that when you're being evaluated and actually pursuing the evaluation objectively so that you know where you need to improve yourself is very important. And those principles for young people, they're very critical as you move along your career, because then you use these same principles for actually getting ahead in business. So in business, if you want to have a good business idea, you always have to listen all the ideas. And you need to make sure that the decisions are taken by considering what is the right answer for the solution you are seeking for. If you don't have the tolerance, you're not going to be very effective.
Right.
And at the same time, you need to make sure that it allows you to be in check. And ethically as well, if you move to business, so you want to make sure that you're not stealing anybody else's ideas, because of course you can be subject to a lawsuit of stealing the process. But when somebody as well comes to evaluate you, so it's never a good idea to exaggerate your own achievements or even to find other people to make achievements for you, because at the end of the day, so the way we become better is not by comparing ourselves with others, but it's always with comparing ourselves to the person that we were yesterday. And if you have an honest assessment of that you are better every day with respect to the person that you were yesterday, you are going to be living a good life and you're going to be flourishing.
Well, thank you, Dean Schnell, for your time. This has been very helpful.
Well, again, thank you for inviting me to talk to you.